Please welcome former New York Supreme Court Justice, the Honorable William Thompson Sr.
Thank you very much. Distinguished honorees, Billy, age has its compensations. You get a chance to see how your kids are going to perform. And you kind of keep your eye on them. And that's what I've done with Billy. Deputy Borough President, President of the Board of Ed, Comptroller of the City of New York, Chairman Battery Park City. At the present time, he is one of the four who will determine where the 4 casinos passed by the legislature will go. He's doing pretty good. I'm proud of Billy. He has conformed to the highest standards. And I was going to say that he's been the best deputy controller we ever had, but I see Scott's here. Scott's a friend of mine, too. But through the years, I've followed Bill, and he's been absolutely great for the people at the state and this country. He's reached back. He's reached back and he's brought along. He opened doors where doors weren't opened before. He can do things, or he did things, that others never thought about. And I'm also proud of Citizens Union. My day, the fellow who used to be in Albany all the time, and, as we say in Yiddish, Mucherus, was George Hallett. Remember George Hallett? Citizens Union, great man. But I'm proud of Billy. I want to introduce him to you tonight, to present this award to Bill. And I got a good chance to look at him, and I'll tell you why. The 26th of this month, I'll be 90. And I've watched him all the way, and he's not finished yet. He would have been a great mayor.
We're going to take a picture here? Yes. Here, once you get by Dan. Got it? You're perfect.
I know, he really did. I know that building. Thank you, Dad. And for those of you who will remember back, January 1st, 2002, I was on the steps of City Hall being sworn in as the Comptroller of the City of New York. My father was the person who swore me in. And he killed me that day, though. He went through, he was supposed to, raise your hand. He went into, and if you listen to your father and do a good job, he killed me, okay? So just before he was coming up, I looked at him. I didn't know exactly what he was going to say. And all I said to my father was, "Don't kill me at the microphone tonight." Dad, thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. And as he pointed out, on the 26th of this month, he's going to be 90. Now, I had to reach him earlier today. I called just to remind him, and he's at work as usual. As a matter of fact, he wasn't in the office. He was in Manhattan or Garden City because he's at work 5 days a week. And he has more energy than probably almost anybody else in this room. And my wife, Elsie, who's here also, she just keeps saying, I go, wow, I hope I'm like him. And my wife keeps saying, I hope you are also. Let me start out first by thanking Citizens Union and Dick Dady. Dick, you do a great job. You do a great job. It's not always easy. And there are moments, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would take your name in vain. But Citizens Union and the work that they do and the work that you do is great for this city. And thank you so much. Thank you for all that you and the members of this wonderful organization do to make this a better city. Now, 2013, last year, I'm sure it was a good year for some of you. Wasn't quite as good a year for me. Last year was a mayoral election. I was a candidate. No, I didn't win. You notice they didn't introduce me as the mayor of the city of New York this evening. But one of the high points in that electoral cycle, one of the high points that year for me was being referred and deemed the preferred candidate of Citizens Union. The preferred candidate of Citizens Union. Now, you look at it and say, wait a minute, why did it mean so much? And when I talk about it, one of the high points, I was endorsed by others and supported by a number of people and others, but it was Citizens Union. And it wasn't just because of the detailed questionnaire that we had to respond to. It wasn't just because of the, at times, contentious interview that I went through. It wasn't because they said, you know, something as far as at least their support when it talks about things like effectiveness and vision and leadership. That means so much to have Citizens Union to be their preferred candidate. But more than that, what it said in a number of ways to me and what it spoke to was my integrity. My integrity. You know, I wanted to have my father introduce me tonight. Dick said, hey, who would you like to have introduce you? I could have thought of elected officials and others and friends. I wanted my father to introduce me. Because as I grew up, and those of you who don't know, they mentioned him as a, you know, former Supreme Court Justice, Justice of the Appellate Division, and he was that. He was also a member of the New York City Council. He also was the first African-American elected state senator in Brooklyn's history. So his background but the lessons that I got as I grew up talked about public service. When you do it correctly, and I underline, when you do it correctly, public service, and not just elected positions, public service is an honorable profession. And I underline, honorable profession. I learned those lessons growing up. I learned that the most important thing that you had, it was your integrity. It was your name. It was your reputation. And over the years, over the more than 40 years in and out of government, I've guarded that jealously and zealously. I've made sure that my integrity, that my reputation was above reproach. That's why it meant so much to me when Citizens Union said, you're our preferred candidate in the primary last year. It spoke to my integrity. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me. Now, there's so many people in this room and have been in this room this evening who have been in government. The Randy Mastros of the world and so many others who have been in government, who have done it admirably, who have done it to the highest standard. And I would say that as we look forward, no, Citizens Union has helped to contribute to what a high standard should be. And they've spoken to what a high standard should be. Now, let's be honest. We have a crisis in government these days. Crisis in confidence, crisis in trust. The public, and it's not just elected officials, public doesn't trust government. Public doesn't believe that government is there for them. that government puts their interest first. We need to change that. And it is not to say that the people who are there are bad, because most of them, the vast majority of them, are good, and their intentions are good. We need to take note of that, but also, I think we all understand, and particularly as you look at campaigns, it's ugly these days. Campaigns and the politics of destruction, we have to change that. We have to talk about issues and policy and not who's bad and why. But one of the things that we have to do, whether it's elective office or whether it's in government, we've got to convince those who would sit on the sidelines, so many of our younger people also, the best and the brightest, that they shouldn't pass on government, that they should get involved. Whether they come in and out, whether they're involved in one area and then come into government and go back out again, we want their involvement. And so many of you in this room who speak to people, who speak to younger people, who talk to those who are in law firms and other places, who would sit there and say, I'm never going to get involved in government. We need to start to encourage them. We need to talk to them about what they can do about making New York City an even better city. This is the greatest city in the world. And the only way that that's going to continue, the only way that we're going to make sure that we have excellent government in New York, is to make sure that those who sit on the sidelines, the best and the brightest, those who say, I'll never get involved, we get them involved also. And it doesn't have to be elective office. Other segments in government, civic associations, we need to get them involved. So Citizens Union, you have always helped to lead the way, holding people to higher standards. So many of you in this room, many of you who are alumni of government, some of you who are not, but all of you who have been involved, let's get others involved. We want to talk about clean government. We want to talk about transparency and openness. Let's get more people involved, people of high caliber, people of high integrity. Let's get them involved, and we will have the government that we deserve. Thank you.